and welcome back to the show. We are here with senior Guinness World Record holder and all-around great guy, Fletcher Rollinson. How are you, Fletcher?
I'm doing great. Last day of school, I'm feeling good.
That's gotta be really, really cool.
Well, Fletcher, let's take it back to the beginning. How would you describe your family and home life when you were a young kid?
My family's always been super supportive of everything I always do. My parents are both great people. I grew up really close to my sister, so having that relationship really helped me grow as a kid, and just an all-around great home life, I think.
Let's start kind of with your story. When did you first come to U.S. and what kind of brought you here?
So it's funny, I actually wasn't considering U.S. I came here in ninth grade, but I wasn't considering U.S. until a kid in the class of 24 who we were close family friends with said to me, like, oh, you gotta tour it. And I was like, well, I'll take a look. I came into the school absolutely expecting to never go here, and I toured it and absolutely loved it. And I think it was one of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah. Well, Fletcher, you have a really unique story. And around the age of 11, you started to feel something that wasn't quite right. Can you talk about what symptoms or signs led you to get checked by the doctors for this?
So around the end of my sixth grade year, so I was about 11, I started experiencing, like, I would wake up in the morning. This only happened a couple times. I would wake up in the morning and my right eye would hurt really badly. And so I would ask my mom, can I stay home for going to school late so I can just make sure that it gets better? And then all of a sudden, I would get hit with a wave of nausea, and then I would throw up, and I would have the worst headache I've ever felt in my life. And they would usually only last for about 24 hours, and then they would go away, and it was all completely normal again. But during that time, I would throw up about 14 to 15 times a day. Yeah.
You were your childhood kind of took a turn that most people usually can't imagine when you were diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer. In 2019, kind of what do you remember about the moment you found out? What was that like?
I remember getting called into my backyard where my whole family was sitting, and just, I knew something was wrong, really, but I didn't know to what level. And when they told me, I remember just my heart dropping, and it felt like the world around me was collapsing. And it was one of the worst feelings I've ever had, yeah.
I know a diagnosis like that must have changed everything. Kind of looking to the weeks after that, what were they like? Did your support group kind of looking like? What got you through that?
Really just my family. I mean, I'm so lucky to have such a great family that always supports me and sticks behind me no matter what. And the assurance of my parents and having my sister around to keep things lighthearted was really important for me during that time. I mean, it was constant consultations and appointments and scans, and just having my family there with me really made a difference for me.
Were there any habits or kind of small routines like music, sports, or shows or prayers that helped kind of ground you when things were hard?
I think talking to friends a lot really helped me through that time. I would watch with my dad a lot of Cleveland sports stuff during that period, which really connected me back home, I felt like. And then lots of board games, for sure. Always good to have some board games. And then, yeah, that was mostly what got me through that time.
Going to a more positive moment, do you remember that moment when you were cancer-free? What was that like? Kind of, what was the process to that, and what were your kind of emotions in that?
So the process, there was no actual moment where I was declared cancer-free, I guess, but there was the time when I stopped treatment, which really was a huge moment for me. I mean, after I had just finished 4 rounds of chemotherapy, and at the end of that, I remember having the realization hit me that I was done and finally going home, and it was one of the best feelings I've ever had.
Well, during your treatment, your mom actually reached out to Mark Rober. How did that connection happen, and what came of that?
So when I was in the hospital, like inpatient, so in the hospital bed at getting treatment, I would watch a lot of YouTube to pass the time. And one of the channels I watched a lot was Mark Rober. I had watched him throughout most of my childhood. And so watching those videos during my time in the hospital, like, reconnected me back to those good moments. And my mom would see me watch him a lot. And so she decided to send out an email, just not expecting anything, saying like, oh, could you send him a video while he's in the hospital, like lift his spirits? I think it would do a lot. And Mark, he's such a great guy. He reached back out and said, I want to FaceTime this kid. And so he got my number, FaceTimed me while I was in the hospital, and then decided while talking to me that if I made it through, he was going to throw me a birthday party. And so a couple months after I finished treatment, I got to go out to California and have a great birthday party, and he made it into a YouTube video. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then during this year's USC Speak Your Mind Ice Bucket Challenge, Mark actually dumped the water on you. How did that happen?
Yeah, so that was funny. We went out to California sort of to visit him a little bit and say hello. And I knew in the back of my head, like, oh, I would love to get him to do it. Like, that would be really funny. Mm-hmm. And so I went up to him and I'm like, Mark, I have a little bit of a favor. Could you, if possibly, dump a bucket of ice water in my head? And he was like, absolutely. And so that was really fun. But yeah, good time.
You know, another really, really cool experience is you had the chance to announce the Cleveland Browns' first-round draft pick. That's really a once-in-a-lifetime experience. What was that day like for you, and kind of what has been your connection to Cleveland sports?
Oh, you guys did your research. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to announce the 2020 Cleveland Browns pick. I don't even remember, honestly, how it came about, but someone heard my story at the Browns and then reached out to the NFL and asked them, like, can we get this kid involved somehow? And I remember, so that since it was the 2020 draft, the whole thing was online. So that when I announced the pick, that was actually pre-recorded. So I remember getting on the call with a lot of NFL execs and them running me through the script of what I was to say, and it was a lot of takes. I was not very good at getting it the first time.
It's probably nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Fletcher, you're known as one of the kindest, most positive people around. So what's your secret to staying so positive after all that you've been through?
Really what made the difference for me while I was in the hospital was the kindness and positivity of the people around me. And so if I were to say what drives me to do that, to be like that positive and that kind, is my time in the hospital and what made a difference for me, and now wanting to give that to other people.
You know, what are kind of some of the things that get you through those overwhelming and stressful periods in your life? We all have them, but what are some of the just little things that kind of give you perspective?
I mean, taking into account, high school is a stressful place, and throughout my time here, I've certainly had those overwhelming, stressful moments. My advice to people is just take a step back. One thing is not going to mean the world. It's could be a big test, it could be a big project, but you just got to take a step back and realize that if it doesn't go that way that you want it to, then it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and let's go to that time in high school here. What are some of the clubs, activities, or sports that you've done here at US that have had a big impact on you?
I think one really that I enjoyed a lot and just connected me and pushed me to pursue things in the future is Future Healthcare Professionals Club. I joined as a sophomore, and was in the club sophomore and junior year, and then eventually during my senior year was lucky enough to be a co-president of the Future Healthcare Professionals Club. But hearing from the different perspectives of current physicians and doctors really solidified that that's what I want to do with my future.
Kind of going into that future, obviously, as your shirt says, you committed to Tufts University. Congrats,
Yes.
by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Looking to your majors, do you plan to major in medicine? What are kind of some of your goals going forward?
So right now, as I've declared, or not declared, as I've indicated, I'm going to be studying biology on the pre-med track. So that's what I'm hoping to do. It's a lot of school, but hopefully it'll work out. Yeah.
And did you take a lot of biology classes here?
No, not really, to be honest. I took freshman biology and then chemistry and then AP biology and microbiology. So I guess a few, but not anywhere near to what some others have taken while here.
What was kind of your story? What got you involved with pre-med? Was it just a certain experience you had with the doctor, or was it just a long love for the...
So as a kid, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I bounced around a lot. For a long time, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I don't really know why, but for some reason, that's what I wanted to do. And then as I got into my diagnosis and the hospital, seeing the impact that doctors can have on people's and families really made the difference for me. And so, it really made me want to pursue that.
And speaking of, that impact that those hospitals can have, and you've stayed involved with St. Jude's and held fundraisers here at our school, but do you see yourself staying involved with that community and being giving your support to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think St. Jude was such an important piece of my life, and I can truly say that they saved my life. So I think giving back in any way I can is a really important thing and an important mission for the rest of my life.
Shifting back to U.S., it's your last day here. So who are kind of some of the few teachers, coaches, friends who have really shaped your U.S. journey and just made it a better place for you?
I think my sponsor, Senora Pacheco, has really made it an unforgettable experience at U.S. Some of the teachers, I would probably say Dr. Yoder, he's up there for me. Mr. Kate, Mr. McEwen. Who else? Who else do I want to thank here? Dr. Fallon, of course. Dr. Bonin. Everyone really that I had class with truly made an impact on me and made me the person I am today.
And what thoughts are kind of going through your mind? It's your last day. You guys are having a cookout in the parking lot, but as you look around at all your friends, it's like this is your last day with all of them. What thoughts are running through your mind?
Just trying to take it all in, really. I mean, this is one of the last times that we'll all be together in a setting like this, and so I've just been trying to talk with as many people as I can, hang out, have fun, and looking forward to the summer.
Yeah.
Looking back on your U.S. career, what do you kind of want to leave a legacy with? And if you could go back and do something differently, maybe what might you change?
Okay, so legacy, I think I'd say I'm fairly happy with what I've done during my time here. I really like that a lot of people think I'm a kind, positive person who says hi to everyone. That was something that I was really happy to hear as I'm leaving. Something I would do different. Ooh, what would I think? I would probably say maybe taking some of the classes that I was thinking about taking my junior and senior year, maybe earlier in my time here. I mean, nothing's stopping you from jumping at that opportunity, and I probably should have taken advantage of that a little more, but I ended up in the place I wanted to.
Yeah.
So
I want to go back into your family a little bit more because they're obviously such a big part of your journey. What is your relationship like with your sister, and how has she kind of played a role in your life?
So my sister and I are very, very close. We're 15 months apart. She is a freshman at Wake Forest now, but growing up, really, she was always my best friend. I mean, she was the one I talked to about everything. She gave me life lessons about how to be the person I am today. She constantly annoyed me as a kid, which taught me to be resilient and tough. But also her kindness really was showing throughout our whole childhood, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, you've lived through something extremely hard that most of us can't even imagine. So, what does living mean to you now? What do you kind of cherish differently? And what do you kind of hope to instill in people?
Yeah, so when I was in the hospital, I really got an appreciation of how important life is, because I was so close to losing it and had so many friends in the hospital that unfortunately weren't as lucky as I was. And so I really learned to just cherish every day you have here, because your time is limited, but you have to make the most of what you have here. I mean, so like whether that be jumping out at opportunities that you were hesitant to, or meeting new people, or just really making the most of your time here.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us, it takes like something to kind of reset our perspective, to think about how fragile life is. But do you have any advice for like always being in that perspective of like, we only have so much time, make the most out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying earlier, just take a step back. I mean, realize where you are and what you're doing and what impact that has. And then you'll realize the importance of yourself and your time here.
You know, going to kind of some advice, what's one quote, one kind of saying that you've ever heard that really has just stuck with you and kind of you could tell all the listeners?
Oh, I'm trying to think. One thing, my mind keeps going to this. One picture that I really, if you haven't seen it before, it's known as one of the most important pictures ever taken. If you've ever seen it, it's of, I forget which space telescope, but I think, I don't know which one, but as it was going away from Earth, like hundreds of millions of miles away, it caught a picture of the Earth, the pale blue dot, yeah, the dot in the stray ray of light. And I think that picture really signifies what we are and the entirety of it all. And that image has always been really interesting and really important to me.
Yeah. Well, I have a question here. You know, if you could give a motivational speech to someone who's currently going through treatment for cancer, what would you say to that person?
I would say keep pushing. I mean, I know it seems bad now, and you're not going to want to wake up each day and keep going. But if you can just keep your eye on the light at the end of the tunnel, that really is important. Find little things that get you through the hard times and focus on those, and really push to make it through and continue to be a positive, inspirational source for others.
Just so amazing.
You know, just recently, one of the cool events that you held was a blood drive here, right? What was kind of the process of setting something like that up, and how successful was it?
So the blood drive, this was with Future Healthcare Professionals Club, and we had sort of been asked by, I think there wasn't a blood drive last year, and so they asked us, would you guys be willing to run it? And we jumped at the opportunity because, I mean, it's such a great cause and helps so many people. And it was particularly important to me because as someone who's received blood transfusions quite a few times during my time in the hospital, it really makes a difference in the lives of others, and I knew that. And so we jumped at the opportunity, and setting up, we did some work corresponding and making schedules for volunteers and scheduling patients in. And then the day of was really the day where a lot of the work was done. I mean, we got here at like 6:45 or 7, and the Red Cross people arrived. We had to set up the whole room, and and so we volunteered all day, and then we actually, luckily enough, we reached our goal and passed it, which was incredible. And truly makes a difference in the lives of so many people. Yeah.
For the people that are hesitant to maybe give blood or give money to cancer research because they don't see the direct impact that it has, can you describe the impact that a donation, whether that is blood or money, has?
All right, so I'll start with blood. I mean, as someone who's received blood transfusions to basically save my life in many cases, it really truly does make a difference. One of the big things with chemotherapy is it lowers the amount of blood cells in your blood, and so when they gave me that blood, it basically sort of brought me back in a way. And so, yeah, it really makes a difference in the lives of patients. And then in terms of donating to cancer research funds, I'll use St. Jude as an example. But St. Jude, I forget how much, but St. Jude is run entirely off donations, and it costs about like $3 or $4 million to run that hospital for one day. They provide everything for patients' families, from care to food to housing, and they pay for all of it with no cost to the families. So that is where your donation is going, and it truly makes a difference in the lives of the patients who have these terrible diseases and their families, whether they would be able to support their care with stuff like health insurance, or whether they don't have health insurance and need this care.
Yeah.
You know, one of the really cool things about this episode is you are the last senior we are interviewing of the 24-25 school year.
I'm honored. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you for coming on. You know, what do you think this senior year is going to be remembered for, and kind of what do you hope this senior class is remembered for?
Our senior class, I think the amount of perspectives in our senior class is one thing I really appreciate about it. I mean, we have kids from all over Cleveland who are involved in all different activities all together, and it doesn't seem like it would happen, but we're one, basically. We're unified under the class of 2025, and I think that's really important, and we've made a huge impact on the school. And so that's what I want our class to be remembered as.
And then what are you going to miss most about your time at US when you move on to Tufts, which we'll get to what you're most excited about. But first, what are you going to miss most about US?
US, I'm just going to miss being in this community. I mean, it was such a great community for my high school career. And my time here was a great experience. I'm just going to miss being here in general, I would say.
Yeah. And then moving to Tufts, what are you most excited for? What are you looking forward to there?
I'm looking forward to being in Boston a lot. I'm looking forward to a new city and meeting lots of new people and taking some pretty interesting classes. Yeah.
You know, looking back on your time, you know, this is kind of one of the last little questions, but what's one of your funniest moments? One of those most memorable or kind of funniest moments you've had here?
Oh, my funniest moment was not one that was meant to be funny. So I ran for prefect last year. I had absolutely no chance of winning. I don't really know why I ran, but it was a good experience, and I wrote a speech that sucked. It was terrible. This was in the first. You guys have seen how they all give speeches and you vote, but I wrote a terrible speech, and I was sitting in the audience, and a couple people went before me, and they went up, and they all had a little one-liner at the start of their speech, and I was like, shoot, I didn't put that in my speech. So I walked up, and I don't know why I said this, but I said, hello, everyone, my name is Fletcher Rollinson, and here's a little something I wrote. I don't know what I was thinking saying that. Needless to say, I did not make it past that round.
You know, one of our last questions, and one of our favorite questions to ask every one of our guests, is what is your why? You know, you've gone through so much, countless different rounds of chemotherapy, countless interactions with people, and being on the biggest stages. What keeps you going and gives your life meaning every day?
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps me going every day was that I got a second chance. I mean, I was lucky enough to be in the hands of geniuses who saved my life, and with my second chance, I want to make the most of it. It keeps me pushing every day and keeps me moving forward, and yeah.
Well, Fletcher, it has been great to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts, insights, experiences. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll hope you'll join us next Wednesday for another episode of Late Start Show. Thanks, Fletcher.
Thank you so much, guys.